should type. It's completely impersonal. Once more, you should send. So fast, all are continuously asking. Continuously, they're asking.
Hare Krishna, video is stopped us and technical.
No.
Technical issue. We are just sorting out in a minute. Please, stay.
It will end at 8:30 only. You will try to finish it. Yes. Maybe 5 minutes here. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Continue.
So, sorry for the disturbance. Extremely sorry for the interruption. The link got lost somehow, unfortunately. So, get back to the. Now, before I describe this first chapter, there is some interesting aspects that the unique position of the Bhagavad Gita is that one will find the Bhagavad Gita what is found in all the Vedas, but one will also find Bhagavad Gita which is not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the perfect theistic science, and it surpasses Bhagavad Gita. Actually, surpasses all Vedic studies and all scriptural education. The essence of all the scriptures. In fact, Bhagavad Gita and science together. Swami Prabhupada said, religion without philosophy's sentiment is a combination of religion and science together. Swami Prabhupada said, religion without philosophy's sentiment and philosophy without religion is mental speculation. The religion and philosophy combined together is perfect theistic science, and that is the Bhagavad Gita. So with this important note on the Bhagavad Gita's position, it is the Gita Upanishad, as you all might have heard, is the essence of all the Upanishads. Srila Vyasadeva, after writing all the Vedas, is summarized that in the Upanishads, and the essence of the Upanishad is further condensed by the Lord in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. Now the Bhagavad Gita opens. It's a very nice opening of the Gita by Sanjaya. Sanjaya Uvacha Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yudsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Makurvata Sanjaya. Yudsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kim Makurvata Sanjaya. Interesting to note is that Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya about the position in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After my sons and the sons in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did they do? Now it's interesting to note, why should Dhritarashtra ask the question, what did they do? Swami Prabhupada gives a very nice example in this regard. He says, suppose you've gone to a restaurant with your friends and then you sat on the table and you are ready to take your meals. You ordered something and then what you ordered has come, and say suppose there is pizza, there is donut, there is burger, or there is gulab jamun, delicacies. It's just right in front of you. Now somebody asks, after the plate was given to you with all the delicacies, what did you do? So what is the meaning of what did they do? Obviously you will eat, isn't it? It's interesting to note, when Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, and Kauravas, sons of Dhritarashtra, they've assembled for a fight. Where is the question of not fighting? And why should Dhritarashtra ask the question to Sanjaya, what did they do? Obviously, when they're assembled to fight, they will fight, isn't it? But still this question is relevant. It's not irrelevant, because therefore the words used by Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yudsavaha. He's saying, after my sons and the sons of Pandu have assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is supposed to be a place of pilgrimage. Dharma Kshetra, supposed to be Dharma Kshetra. Therefore, this question becomes relevant. It's a place of pilgrimage. It's a sacred place. Generally, in a sacred place, in a temple, in a religious place, in a place of pilgrimage, nobody will quarrel, nobody will fight, nobody will speak lies. So it's interesting to note this battle took place in a Dharma Kshetra. So, because of the influence of the place of pilgrimage, did my sons change their minds and go on for a compromise with the Pandavas? Actually, was the intended meaning of Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya. Although he has not openly spoken that idea, but it is understood because of referring to Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra as Dharma Kshetra. And generally, when you go to a temple, you feel more peaceful, more collected, and then you would like to go for a compromise, isn't it? So, Dhritarashtra was concerned that his sons don't agree for a compromise with the Pandavas. Therefore, the question, what did they do after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? So, did they not fight, agree for a compromise? Sanjaya? Was Dhritarashtra's anxiety, which was very obvious. And Lord Krishna, being the supreme master of religion, it's interesting to note the word again used is Kshetra, Kurukshetra and Dharma Kshetra. In both the words, the word Kshetra is there. Kshetra means agricultural field. Just like there's an agricultural field and there's a farmer or a cultivator, and then he has sown a lot of seeds, say mango seeds, jackfruit seeds, and sapota, apples, or say some vegetables, some grains, and all these things. Say mango seeds, jackfruit seeds, and sapota, apples, or say some vegetables, some grains, and all these things. And then he's cultivating some portion of the land in the agricultural fields. Now, as the main crop is growing, along with the main crop, there are also weeds which also grow along with the main crop, be it grains or vegetables or fruits, isn't it? So those weeds have to be regularly plucked out. Otherwise, whatever water you supply, it will be eaten off by the weeds, isn't it? It will be eaten off by the weeds. All the water supplied, the manure supplied will be taken by the weeds, and the weeds will grow luxuriantly, and it will stunt the growth of the actual crop, the plant or the fruit or the vegetable or the grain. So the weeds have to be plucked out, rooted out regularly. The farmer has to be very vigilant in this regard. Similarly, the idea is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, supposed to be a Dharma Yuddha, a religious war, Lord Krishna, being the father of religion personally, is there to root out the weed like Duryodhana party and uphold the actual crop called the Pandavas. So that when the crop yields you fruits and vegetables, you can enjoy. Similarly, when the Pandavas rule the world, Lord Krishna's idea was that when the devotees rule the world, there will be peace and prosperity materially, and you can also, they will also pave the path to spiritual perfection. That was Krishna's idea. That's why he wanted Yudhishthira to rule the world uh, than Duryodhana ruling the world. Because the main intention is, it's just not some living. You require to achieve perfection in life, to go back to Godhead. So Krishna's main intention was that if the devotees rule the world, there'll be a lot of peace and prosperity, no politics, no corruption, etc. And there'll be a lot of encouragement in spiritual life, life transformation, etc. In fact, This was the primary idea. Otherwise, if you see interestingly, Duryodhana was doing well in terms of administration. But it's just not administration. Human life, particularly, is meant for spiritual perfection. Therefore, Krishna was concerned that Yudhishthira become the king. Also, on moral grounds, Yudhishthira was to replace Duryodhana because the kingdom belonged to Pandavas. Okay. So, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha Mamaka Pandavasya Vekimakurvata Sanjaya. Interesting to note, Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya, and they were sitting in the present day New Delhi. Earlier it was Hastinapura, and the battle was happening 100 miles away. So how could Sanjay describe? It's like an online commentary. Suppose there's a cricket match going on, and somebody is giving live commentary, being in the stadium, by which he was able to see exactly whatever was going on. Duryodhana begins to describe the on Pandava's side, and then it captains on his own side, who have come to lead the army. Totally, there were about 18 Akshauhinis, 7 from the Pandava side and 11 from the Kaurava side. Interestingly, after all the 13 years of exile, the Pandavas could very quickly gather in just few months' time 7 Akshauhinis by the mercy of Krishna. And Kauravas could amass about 11 Akshauhinis of army. It's a huge army. And it is said in the Mahabharata battle, 64 crore people lay their lives. But it is Dharma Yuddha to establish religion, uphold religion for good of humanity and everybody. So, after describing this, Bhishmadev blew his conch shell, and it is described by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. His blowing was that like a lion roaring, very heroic, very gorgeous. After that, Sanjay describes the blowing of Pandava side. Of course, it began with Duryodhana's side with Bhishmadev, and then the other captains who were leading his army, and they all sounded their conch shells together, and that caused a reverberation in all the planetary systems. Later on, after they blew their conch shells, the Pandavas blew their conch shells, one by one after the other. So Arjuna blew his conch shell, Krishna blew his conch shell, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Bhima, and then the other younger brothers of the Pandavas blew their respective conch shells individually. Now, interesting to notice, the Pandavas' conch shells were described as Divyam, transcendental. And when they blew their conch shells, one after the other, not simultaneously, still it encouraged all the captains and soldiers on the side of the Pandavas. This is because of their confidence in Lord Krishna. On the other hand, there was no such experience being described in the Bhagavad Gita on the Kaurava side. In fact, it is described by Sanjaya that it shattered the hearts of the Kauravas when they heard the blowing of conch shells from the Pandavas side. But such experience is not described when Kauravas blew their conch shells. This is very important point to note. Further to that, it is described that chariot, Krishna's chariot, uh, Arjuna's chariot was marked with Hanuman, Kapidvajaha. Very important to note this. These are all the signs of victory. Hanumanji is there, Lord Krishna is present, and the third symptom of they blowing their conch shells on their side, being very confident of victory. So Hanumanji, as we know, during the time of Lord Ramachandra, he cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle which Lord Rama had with Ravana. And as we know, Lord Ramachandra very easily vanquished Ravana. So Hanumanji supported Lord Rama. The same Hanuman is present in the flag of the chariot driven by Lord Krishna. Same Hanumanji is present, and the same Lord Rama is present as Lord Krishna. So these are the established signs of victory for Arjuna and the Pandavas. So Yesham Pakshe, it is described that wherever Krishna is there, whichever side Krishna is there, it will always be victorious. So Krishna is in the side of the Pandavas. Therefore, Pandavas are certain to achieve or gain victory. In fact, there was a choice given to Duryodhan by the Lord because Lord Krishna is a family member for both the sides, Kauravas and the Pandavas. So Krishna didn't want to complicate the situation. If he sides one of the family members, the other family members may be deprived, they may feel bad about it. So Krishna said, I'm not going to fight in the battle, but they can choose me. I will just be a counselor and advisor. That's all. I'll not use my weapons. My army is also available to choose. So Duryodhana very happily claimed the army of Krishna. And he said, okay, so that's enough for me. The Pandavas were very happy and satisfied with Lord Krishna. They said, if Krishna is there with us, we are more than happy. We don't require anything else. Krishna is with us, that's enough. Jayastu Panduputranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. It's a very famous saying. So wherever Janardana is there, there is success and victory. So Pandavas were very much satisfied just by having Krishna with them. And that led to their victory. So these were the signs of victory. And the last section of the Gita today, of the first chapter, actually, Arjuna was a very able king, the best archer in the world, and he is there on the battlefield. But he said, my Lord, my dear Lord, take me in the middle of the battlefield and place me amidst both the army so that I can see who have come on the other side to take part in this battle. Actually, he was surprised to know all his family members have gathered, being geared up to fight, even to the point of killing, just to acquire the kingdom. Just imagine so much greed for property. Anyway, so Arjuna was eager to know, and when he saw all the family members gathered, he was very surprised and very concerned. A kind devotee like Arjuna, actually, he doesn't want any bloodshed at the cost of somebody's life. He didn't want to enjoy the kingdom. That was his main concern. So therefore he shared many of his concerns, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita. First of all, he was compassionate towards his family members and to all the soldiers in the battlefield, that they have to lay their life just for me, Yudhishthira, to become the king. No, they were not very happy. That was one reason. Then Arjuna also was a saintly by nature, being a devotee, so therefore he didn't want to just enjoy the kingdom, particularly the cost of bloodshed. So he didn't want bloodshed, and he didn't. He wanted to show compassion, and he was also saintly by nature, and he was also concerned about the aftermath effects, the destruction of family, dynasty. The male members will be killed, then dharma will be lost. There'll be no responsible person in the family to lead them in a religious way for higher purposes and aims in life, to achieve the higher aims in life. Dharma will be lost. So many things Arjuna was thinking of. So therefore he didn't want to fight the battle. So finally Arjuna, actually he sat down. He stood up to see all the members assembled with a lot of energy to fight in this battle. But then he sat down. He threw his bow and arrow. Actually his bow and arrow slipped from his hand. His mouth started drying up. His skin started drying up. His eyes were rolling. His mind was reeling. This is the description given in the Bhagavad Gita. Imagine just like a world, just like an Olympic gold medalist in archery. And if he says that my mouth is drying up, my skin is burning, and if that archer says, suppose a gold medalist, I'm not even able to hold the arrow and bow in my hand. Imagine what the scenario. That was Arjuna's situation. This was because of his kind-heartedness. So we will see Lord Krishna instruct him in the next chapter the importance of still continue the fight because of establishing dharma and world peace. So I'll stop here. We will take on some questions, and then after that we'll have the quiz answers, and then we'll close for the day. Thank you so much for your kind participation, and we once again apologize for the technical glitch which happened in the middle of the class. So if anybody has any questions, kindly do let know. We have a question answer time now. Specific questions from today's discussion. Okay, so there's a question here by one of the participants. When Pandu passed away, should the throne not have gone to Duryodhan back again? Because the eldest was Dhritarashtra? Yes. Okay, it's a good question. Actually, Dhritarashtra was elder to Pandu, no doubt, but Dhritarashtra was blind. Therefore, the kingdom was handed over to Pandu Maharaj. So when Pandu passed away, as per the Kshatriya law of inheritance, his sons were the rightful claimees of the kingdom. Therefore, it will go to the Pandavas, it will not come back to Duryodhan. There's no retrospective effect here. So that is as per the Kshatriya law. Just like there are codes of law, that with the IPC code by which things are decided, judgment is passed in the country. And similarly, there are international laws. So the Kshatriya Dharma management principles are there. As per the governance in management, so the kingdom actually went to Pandavas, not Kauravas. Just like I described the 9 aspects which Arjuna realized, which by which one can come to understand that he is God. The 9 aspects which I described in the beginning of my talk. Apart from that, great authorities like Vedavyas, Prahalad, Narada have also confirmed about the supremacy of the Lord. And the scriptures also, all the Puranas, they talk about Krishna or Vishnu being the Supreme Lord. And Krishna also proved it personally when he came down to this world. Why Krishna didn't stop Mahabharata? Very good question. Yes. Actually, it is described that what happened was, at that time, the world was overburdened with a lot of people who were disturbing everybody's life, normal situation. Therefore, Krishna wanted to uproot all of them and lead the way for peaceful living for the sentient beings. Just like if somebody says why the police force is there and why somebody should go to somebody should be imprisoned. Somebody says that why somebody should be imprisoned. The very simple answer would be the idea is not to punish them or put them in trouble, but then to reform them. Idea is very simple. Suppose there is a family, got 5 children, and say 4 of them are good, and or say 1 of them is good, 4 of them are a little disturbing. Now, naturally the father has to correct the other children so that all the children have the benefit of peaceful life, coexistence. Everybody have the right to live for property, for security, for enjoyment, isn't it? So everybody has the right in the kingdom. So just like the country head, the president or the prime minister is responsible to give security to life and property for the people, give them employment, give them job, see that they are well taken care of, that there is peace, there is prosperity, and most importantly, there is spiritual advancement, an opportunity for spiritual growth, spiritual advancement. That's the most important responsibility of the king or the leader. So, in doing this, sometimes there is some disturbance. Just like to run a kingdom, why the imprisonment happens? Because they are disturbing the normal life of the people. So, therefore, they have to be imprisoned. The idea is not punishment, the idea is to reform them. Similarly, sometimes when bad elements are there, they have to be reformed. That was the idea of Krishna encouraging this Mahabharata battle. But if you see, initially Krishna tried all his might. In fact, Krishna personally went on behalf of Yudhishthira for a compromise to Duryodhana. Just imagine the Supreme Lord personally going to Duryodhana, a tiny jiva, for compromise. But Duryodhana didn't agree for compromise. Krishna said, I am the Supreme Lord. Personally come to you on behalf of Yudhishthira to ask for a compromise. If you don't want to give the kingdom, okay, fine. At least give them one village. Duryodhana didn't agree. Therefore, the battle was inevitable. One last example. Suppose there's a wound in your body. Naturally, you have to treat it. When there is treatment, there is pain. Suppose there's a surgery to be done. There is pain while doing surgery. That has to be endured so that you become healthy, isn't it? So, similarly, when there is transformation or purification happening, some kind of pain has to be undergone. But that is good for the person. Just like imprisonment is good for the person, he'll reform, he'll come out. He'll not commit that mistake again. Yes. Okay. What is the conclusion? Sorry, there are so many other good questions, but due to paucity of time, we lost some minutes also. Uh, we can catch up in the next session tomorrow. What is the conclusion and take off from the first chapter? And then I'll go to the quiz question shortly for another 5 minutes and we'll close. So the important point is, the takeaway from the first chapter is, we should know this property dispute, these are all things which are temporary. There are material assets which is given to us for the time being, and that is not everything in life. These are all temporary assets given to us. Actually, we are caretakers of the Lord's property. So the Lord is actually the owner of everything. He is the owner of everything. So we are caretakers. Just like the father owns and his property is shared among all the children, all of them have the equal right to enjoy, isn't it? Similarly, we all being the children of God, he being the original owner of everything, there's no reason for any disputes. Let us enjoy the kingdom of God, what's given to us, and prosecute our life in a peaceful way. And try to create friendship, try to create friends, and not to become envious of others' position and assets. This is another important take from this chapter. God will always bless us sufficiently and enough. So there's nothing to worry and there's nothing to lose. In fact, the devotees of the Lord, they understand our treasure is in the lotus feet of Krishna. So there's nothing to lose. So that is an important point. And it's always good to be saintly, to be compassionate, develop these divine qualities. To be forgiving is divine. So that is important to know from this chapter.
What should we do with all the questions? Will you post answers in the groups, or how it is? How will we answer that all the questions whatever they posted there?
Now, I would like to answer the quiz questions. Some of you must have gone through the quiz. Tomorrow we'll post much early for the second chapter. I'll read the questions and the answers to that. Who is the guru of Sanjaya? Is actually Vyasadeva. You can note the right answers, and each question bears 10 points, and you can mark for yourself how much points you're getting. Most importantly, to get to know where you stand, and don't have to worry really about marks. It's important to know the message and the answers. And how is it that Sanjaya was in the palace of Dhritarashtra and could see what is happening in the battlefield and explain this situation to Dhritarashtra? As I described in my class, actually by the mercy of Vyasadeva, which is described in the 18th chapter, Vyasadeva gave him a divine vision that he could be able to see what is going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even though sitting in New Delhi. So that was the mercy of Vyasadeva. He had a spiritual television, a divine vision to be able to see the battle. Who is referred as Dhananjaya? It is actually Arjuna. Why is he called so? Because Arjuna helped his brother Yudhishthira in fetching lot of wealth for performing Vedic sacrifices when Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to perform Rajasuya Yajna. That's question number 3. Then question number 4. Who is Vrikodara? Actually referring to Bhima. Why is he called so? Because Vrika Udara. Bhima was a voracious eater. He was a heavy eater. And as he would eat heavily, he would also perform Herculean tasks. So therefore, it's called Vrikodara. He's not only eating, he could also perform Herculean tasks. Therefore, he was called Vrikodara. Just like the task of killing the demon Hidimba. Question number 5. What is the relationship of Drona and Kripacharya? Between Dronacharya and Kripacharya. Actually, Kripacharya, they were twins. Kripacharya, Kripa and Kripi. They were brother and sister, they were twins. So Kripi, the sister of Kripacharya, was married to Dronacharya. Actually, they were brothers-in-law. That was the relationship. So Kripacharya's sister was given in marriage to Dronacharya. And both were contemporary peers. Question number 6. How many verses are there in the Mahabharata? It's about 1 lakh verses. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's about 700 verses. Who composed Gita Mahatmya? Question number 7. It was Sripad Shankaracharya. Question number 8. Name the consul of Krishna. Panchajanya is consul of Krishna. For Arjuna, it is Devadatta. Yudhishthira Maharaj, it is Anantavijaya. Bhima, it is Paundraka. Nakula Sahadeva is Sugosha and Manipushpaka. The consuls of all these great personalities. Question number 9. What is the name of Arjuna's bow? Very simple question. It is Gandiva. Question number 10. Why is Arjuna called Gudakesha? Because Arjuna could conquer sleep and ignorance. Gudaka Isha. Therefore, he was called Gudakesha. Being a devotee of the Lord, he could conquer ignorance and he could conquer also sleep. So that is the position of Arjuna, and therefore he was called Gudakesha. So thank you so much for your participation. We will catch up tomorrow. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
What about any questions, bro? Any questions? What about the questions? That's it. No, I land.
We will try to answer the questions in tomorrow session as much possible. There's a host of questions. We'll try to answer them also as much possible. Sorry for the inconvenience because of paucity of time. We're not able to catch up with all the questions. Hare Krishna.